Every May, something strange happens to the team sat between 10th and 14th in the Premier League. The sun comes out and all of a sudden Crystal Palace versus West Ham looks like it's being played in slow motion. Why? Because according to commentators, broadcasters, journalists and your dad's mate's questionable X account, they're on the beach. But what do they mean? Well, simply put, being on the beach is when a team that has nothing left to play for in the league stops giving a shit. Work rate decreases, tracking back becomes an optional task, and players that were previously mentality monsters are now mentally in Dubai. It's a phrase thrown about to rationalise why teams stuck in mid-table can look at times like they're playing with all the intensity of Tuesday night at Mecca Bingo. But does it actually carry any weight? Well now, finally, we can prove it. It all started when Root and unsubscriber Jordan Gallardo Burnett asked, could we actually measure how much a team mentally checks out? Could we find out who are the beachiest teams in the Premier League? Then instead of moving on with his life, Jordan wrote 500,000 lines of code. He came up with the On the Beach Index, a completely unnecessary and almost 100% statistically sound attempt to prove or not prove whether a team really does give up when it doesn't matter. So, how does one go about finding the on the beachiest team? Well, to begin with, we need to find games where at least one team had nothing left to play for. The key criteria being one of already champions, already qualified for the Champions League but can't win the title, safely in Europe but can't reach the Champions League, safely mid-table with no chance of Europe, or safely relegated. Sounds simple, right? But in practice, it's a right ball ache. First problem, European places have a nasty habit of shifting all over the shop. So instead of trying to predict this bureaucratic witchcraft, we'll just always assume the maximum number of spots. That way, no team was falsely accused of sunbathing when they still had a shot at 7th. The Intertoto Cup doesn't exist. My apologies to Fulham, Newcastle, Aston Villa and West Ham. It never happened. Then there's other problems like fixtures getting moved, points deductions, a team's safety being confirmed by two teams below them still having to play each other, the existential dread of wondering if people actually care about this. After some tinkering, we find ourselves with a pool of 715 matches since the Premier League's inaugural 92-93 season, where we can say, with almost total confidence, that at least one team had absolutely nothing to play for. Now, onto the fun maths bit. The On the Beach Index is elegant in its simplicity. Oh. Well, to put it simpler, On the Beach Index equals points per game in beach matches over points per game in non-beach matches. If it's above 1, a team statistically gets better when the pressure's off. If it's below 1, they play like they've got sunscreen in their eyes. Across all 715 games, the average OBI is 0.95, so statistically performance does drop off ever so slightly, and if you ignore club identities and just lump every beach match together, the OBI falls to 0.86, meaning that once a team's safety is secured, they become roughly as reliable as Tesco value Speedos. Now for the bits you've presumably clicked to find out, the teams who thrive in meaningless games. Who become the footballing version of The Undertaker in a casket match. At the very top of the On the Beach Index, we find Leicester City, with an on the beach score of 1.62 from 33 beached games. Leicester City are the model professionals of the Premier League, keeping it turned on even when every game is essentially a friendly. Or, more realistically, players just putting themselves in the shop window. Forest, Fulham, Palace and Stoke follow behind, still giving their supporters, and any prospective buyers, a show even when it effectively doesn't matter. And now to the opposite side of the table. Who are the teams that are less on the beach and more out at sea on a lilo with a bottle of Estrella in their hand? The on the beachiest team is Derby County. Yes, with an OBI of 0.3, Derby County well and truly stick the out of office email on as soon as their fate has been sealed, which is usually relegation. Wolves, Sunderland, West Brom and Burnley all collapse the second the stakes disappear. Whether it's mental fatigue, physical fatigue or simply everyone already browsing TripAdvisor, Some clubs can't even muster the energy to look like they care. Which teams find themselves beached the most? Well, with 49 beachy games, we find Manchester United. A lot of these games are from the Ferguson days, where they'd win the league early and spend the last few matches trying to get Anderson some minutes. As a percentage of their total time in the top flight, Huddersfield Town have found themselves visiting the beach the most. Almost 10% of their games in the Premier League have been completely pointless, while 2 teams have never had a visit to the beach at all. Oldham, who spent their 2 seasons in the Premiership fighting until the bitter end, and, rather amazingly, Blackpool, despite Bloomfield Road being only 400 metres from an actual beach, which would make it the most geographically on the beach stadium to host a Premier League game. Up until the time of recording, 5.6% of all Premier League matches feature at least one beach team, which means 1 in 20 Premier League games played is pointless for at least one of the teams, while 1.8% are double beachy, where neither team has anything to play for, which should equal snooze fest, but actually can mean quite the opposite. There's a Southampton-Liverpool game from a couple of seasons ago, Arsenal 4, Everton 3 in 2002, West Brom and Manchester United playing out that 5-5 in Fergie's last match. The 8th of May 1993 featured 4 double beachy games, with at least 6 goals scored in each fixture. In fact, double beachy fixtures on average feature 3.13 goals per game, versus the normal Premier League average of 2.69, despite the fact neither team should give a shit. So what have we learned? Well, free from the pressure of actual competition, Leicester City like to spend their Mays with the handbrake off. On the other hand, Derby could use with getting a motivational speaker in every April. Most importantly, yes, teams do seem to drop off once the Jet 2 holiday theme song starts getting broadcast. Having said that, there's always going to be odd scenarios and motivations that no amount of code can account for, or just don't make sense. Take Leeds beating Arsenal in 1999, which ultimately gifted the title to Man United. Crystal Palace beating Liverpool 3-1 in Steven Gerrard's last game at Anfield in 2015. Then there's already relegated Southampton drawing with Man City last season, though in that case Southampton were still technically fighting for their reputation, in a battle to avoid the unwanted moniker of being worse than 2008 Derby County. So when May rolls around next year, and it looks like the battle for 12th place is wrapped up, maybe don't be so quick to dismiss Brentford versus Palace or Fulham versus Bournemouth. Because sometimes, in the sun-soaked void of consequence-free football, something special happens. Or more likely, you'll get 90 minutes of backwards passing and a single goal from a deflection off someone's arse. Either way, don't rule anything out. Because when there's nothing left to play for, there's always the chance that something could happen, even if something equals nothing. Thank you very much for watching. Just wanted to give a big shout out to Jordan for the major assist on this one. For more footballing nonsense, don't forget to subscribe by clicking below and check out the rest of the channel. Thanks once again.